Okay, so just imagine this for a moment. If I asked you to put a day on the calendar, a day for remembering loved ones who've passed away, what would that day, what would it look like for you?
For most of us, it's probably quiet, somber even.
Right, exactly. Quiet reflection, maybe some sorrow, a trip to a cemetery. Now, what if I told you to imagine that same day, but it's filled with loud music and vibrant colors and the smell of your grandmother's favorite food cooking?
And this feeling of almost joyous anticipation, like you're getting ready for a huge family reunion.
It's a total flip of the script.
It is. It's a complete inversion of how much of the world thinks about mortality, and that's why we're doing this deep dive. We're looking at one of the most, I think, remarkable traditions in the world, Dia de los Muertos.
The Day of the Dead in Mexico. And our mission today really is to get past the surface level stuff, the beautiful painted skulls you always see, and to try and understand the philosophy behind it.
The deep thinking that lets an entire culture take something like loss, which is so often about fear and sadness, and replace it with reverence, with joy.
Even humor.
And humor, absolutely. But first, we have to lay down a ground rule for you, the listener. This is not, and I mean not, a Mexican version of Halloween.
That's such an important distinction.
It's not about being scared or sad. It is explicitly from the ground up about honoring and welcoming the souls of the people you've lost.
The entire focus is on connection, on continuity, not on grief.
Exactly, not a rupture.
Okay, so let's unpack that word you used, welcoming,
Right.
because that seems to be the engine driving this whole incredible event.
It is.
The core belief isn't just about remembering someone in your head, like looking at an old photo. It's about this idea of a real reunion.
It's the bedrock of the entire system of rituals. The core idea, and it's so unique, is the belief that the spirits of your family members, your parents, your kids, your grandparents, they're actually granted permission. Yes, for a very brief window once a year to return from the afterlife and, well, visit you in your home.
A visit. That one word changes everything, doesn't it? It's not a haunting. It's not a memory. It's a visit.
It completely transforms the act of remembrance. It goes from being something you do alone in your own head to this big external act of preparation.
Because if you truly believe your dad is walking through that door for dinner tonight.
Your whole reaction is different. You're not going to be afraid of him.
Of course not.
This cultural way of thinking, it pushes away that sense of dread that, a lot of other cultures associate with ghosts or spirits.
They're not ghosts?
They're not ghosts. They're just family. They're family coming home from a really long trip. So the feeling is just pure anticipation. It's like you're planning for the most important guest of the entire year.
And if they're coming home from a long trip, I imagine they're tired, they're hungry, they maybe need directions.
Yes.
And that leads us to the preparations, which are they're fascinating. This is not a moment of silence. This feels more like, I don't know, 5-star catering for the soul.
That's a great way to put it, because you can see the philosophy made real. It's made tangible. Families spend so much time and energy. I mean, some sources say they'll spend a quarter of their yearly income on preparing these commemorative tables, the ofrendas. And they're not just memorials. They are spiritual welcome stations built specifically to guide and receive the spirits.
So walk us through the anatomy of a proper ofrenda. I know it's more than just putting out a picture. What are the absolute essentials for a spirit who's crossing back over?
Well, the ofrenda is built to take care of every need a traveler might have. So first you have the structure. These altars, they often have different levels.
Tiers.
Tiers, exactly. Sometimes 2 or 3 or even 7. And each level symbolizes a different stage of the journey. You have the earth, the physical world, all the way up to the heavens or different levels of the underworld.
So the altar itself is a map of the journey.
It's a map. It reinforces this whole idea of a transition between worlds, not an ending.
Okay, that makes sense. So what goes on the map?
Every single item has a job to do. You mentioned the photos, and that's key. They identify who you're welcoming. But then you have the practical stuff. The spirit has been on a long journey, right? They're thirsty, so there's always water, always, to quench their thirst. Then there's often salt, which is there to purify the spirit so it doesn't get corrupted on its visit. And of course, candles.
To light the way.
For faith and to light the path.
And the food. That seems to be where so much of the love is focused.
It's the most personal part, the most sensory, and it has to be the exact favorite dishes of the person when they were alive.
Not just any food.
No. If your grandfather loved a specific kind of tequila and a very particular mole sauce, that is what has to be on the table. It's about satisfying their spiritual hunger, but also that immediate comforting feeling of being home.
And there's that special bread too,
Yeah.
right?
The pan de muerto, yes. It's a sweet bread, often decorated with shapes that look like bones.
It sounds delicious, but also just incredibly moving. The act of cooking that meal is an act of love. It's not just grief, it's this active commitment.
And then you need a guide. The spirits need a way to find your specific altar. This is where the marigold comes in, the sempasuku.
The flower of the dead.
They call it that. Its color is so bright, this vivid orange gold, and the smell is so strong, so pungent.
I know that smell.
Right. The belief is that the smell and the color create a path. A literal trail of petals is often laid from the cemetery right to the family's front door.
Wow. Just the idea that a flower scent is actively working to bring your loved one home is just a beautiful concept.
It shows so much faith in the entire process.
And there's another thing that I think is crucial for, getting rid of the fear factor. The skulls, the calaveras.
Yes. The humor. This is so important. The sugar skulls, or the funny poems they write about death. They treat death like an everyday acquaintance.
Like someone you can make fun of.
Exactly. Sometimes you mock death, sometimes you're fond of it. By showing death as this funny character all dressed up for a party, you drain the terror right out of it. You can't really be afraid of something you're busy making fun of while feeding it sugar.
So if you look at the whole ofrenda, the levels showing the journey, the food for the hunger, the marigolds as a GPS, and the skulls taking away the fear, it's this ultimate act of preparation.
Yes.
The family isn't paralyzed by sorrow. They're busy. They're actively engaged in this beautiful, intense act of service.
The focus is entirely outward. It's all about making the visitor comfortable and happy. And when you channel all that emotional energy into cooking and arranging and cleaning, it stops it from collapsing inward into grief. It turns loss into this productive, loving action.
Which brings us to the deeper philosophy. We get the what now, but let's really tackle the why. Why choose celebration over mourning? How did this culture manage to face death with such a profound lack of despair?
And that gets to the absolute heart of it, doesn't it? It's a fundamental question about what it means to exist. If you connect all those rituals we just talked about back to the worldview, you see the big difference.
What is?
The Mexican worldview, by and large, sees death not as an end, not as a disappearance, but as a transition.
Ah, that is the crucial word.
Yeah.
Disappearance is terrifying.
Yeah.
It means you're just gone, erased. That causes panic.
But a transition.
Transition just means you've moved. You've gone to another state of being, another address,
Yeah.
and maybe the room next door.
Exactly. The idea that someone is just blinked out of existence forever, that's what's so hard to handle. But this replaces that fear with the certainty that they've just changed their status.
The relationship isn't over. The rules for communication have just changed.
And if the relationship isn't over, then the need to honor it, to maintain that bond, that doesn't go away either. It just becomes this annual event.
It becomes a scheduled family get-together. It's not a spooky supernatural thing. It's just what you do. The whole point is to ensure the family line continues, that affection endures. So how does that idea of transition shape the actual emotions of the day? It's clearly not just sadness, but it's not a mindless party either. It's full of feeling.
The feelings are incredibly profound, but they're focused on the strength of that bond. So you see this tremendous love, you see deep respect for the ancestors, and you see a lot of longing,
Yeah.
a deep yearning for the person. But that feeling isn't channeled into weeping at a grave. It's channeled into cooking their favorite meal and telling stories about them.
So the sorrow you feel about their physical absence gets turned into fuel for the celebration. You're ensuring their memory isn't just a static picture on a wall, but something that's alive and active.
Yes. The culture basically insists, with every candle and every flower, that love does not stop at the physical barrier. It's cultural proof. And for you, the listener, I think trying to understand that it's transformative.
It really is.
It gives you another way to think about your own mortality. If you can remove that deep fear of just ending, of total termination, and replace it with a structured, celebratory, yearly connection, the whole story you tell yourself about loss just changes completely.
The energy shifts.
It shifts from the finality of grief to the anticipation of next year's reunion.
It's a brilliant psychological and spiritual system. This tradition takes an event that is almost universally defined by what's been lost and turns it into this powerful, sincere expression of what continues. Ongoing love, connection, respect.
It is a masterclass in reframing an idea. The moment you decide to see death not as a termination, but as just a change of address, you take the power back from the fear of oblivion.
Your life and the lives of the people you remember, they gain this incredible sense of continuity.
Exactly.
And that incredible lesson leaves us with a final thought for you to think about today. If that deep, universal fear of disappearance, the idea that you or your loved ones are just blinked out of existence, is replaced by the concept of transition and the certainty of a welcoming, loving ritual, how does that fundamentally reshape the way you value your own life, your actions, and the lasting permanence of the legacy you hope to leave behind? Something to reflect upon.